I'm not buying a home right now because interest rates are too high. This is a very common objection that I'm hearing from a lot of buyers that I've been working with. And they are all spooked because interest rates are back on the climb. So the question is, should you let interest rates control whether or not you actually buy a home? Welcome to my channel. My name is LOR VANG, and I create real estate related content videos to help buyers and sellers make the best decisions for themselves. And in today's video, we're going to talk about one of the very hot topics, of course, in the real estate market today, which is interest rates. Should you actually let interest rates control whether or not you actually purchase a home? So of course, affordability is important. So number one, if you are actually able to afford a home in your current situation, then you should probably not let interest rates dictate whether or not you purchase a home, especially if you actually have a need to purchase a home, right? So like, for example, if your family is growing or your kids are getting older and they each need their own room, or you want your kids to go to a better school district, so you want to move them, prepare for their elementary and middle school and high school years to put them in the school district that you would like them to be, then oftentimes you have to move them if they're going to go to a public school to be able to go to that school of choice. And there might be other reasons, such as you want to work from home now, so you need that home office. Or if you don't have a home office and you're still commuting, you might want to be closer to work. So for these reasons, it is a legitimate need to purchase a home, especially, again, if you can afford to do so. On the other hand, another very important thing that you must consider when purchasing a home is how long do you intend to stay there? And so if you're going to stay there long term, meaning longer than 5 years, you can simply hold that home, and as you're paying it down, you will create equity, right? And at the same time, interest rates will continue to change while you're living there. And so if interest rates were to come down within the next 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever, and you've got equity, then you can refinance that interest rate to get the lower interest rate at the time. So you can essentially get a lower mortgage payment that way. Now on the flip side, if interest rates were to skyrocket and keep continuing going up, well, you got in at the lower point, right? So what's there to be mad about? If you have a lower interest rate, you have a lower mortgage payment than if the interest rate were to continue to climb. And of course, over time, historically, we've seen that housing is one of the few things that continue to rise over time in value. And so, of course, you want to buy yesterday instead of, 5 years in the future when it's going to be probably, more expensive than what you are looking at today. So, something very important to think about. Lastly, interest rates are always changing, and that is something that you cannot control. So, I always tell my buyers that, hey, if you can afford to buy a home and you have a need to buy a home, control what you can control, which is control what homes you want to look at, what your home search criteria is, what your budget is, where you want to buy a home, and prepare and start looking and keep looking until you find that home. Because who knows how long it will take you to find that home. It could be, a day, it could be a year. And so between, today and a year, that interest rate could fluctuate to, less or even more. And so you just have to do what you have to do on your part and let the interest rate do its own thing. And once you find that home, then you have that conversation with your real estate agent, with your loan officer. Hey, what are my options here depending on where that interest rate is? How can I lower my payments, right? And so then you have that conversation, and some answers might come up like, well, you could buy down the rate. You might be able to do a adjustable rate mortgage instead of a fixed rate mortgage, or you put down a higher down payment. There are many other options to reduce your mortgage payment. So if you just simply let the first thing stop you, which is, oh, the interest rates are way too high right now, which they're not. Historically, the historic average since they've tracked 30-year mortgage rates are about 7%. And so right now, they're even a little bit less than that. So if you want to say expensive, well, it's all relative. So it just really depends. As a bonus to my real estate investor audience out there, should you let interest rates stop you from purchasing an investment property? Well, the whole point of being a real estate investor is to make money on the spread. So meaning that the cost that it costs you to borrow that money, the returns that you get from your investment property should be greater than that, correct? So let's say it costs you 8% to borrow money to buy a property. So you know that now you at least should return greater than 8% on that money that you're borrowing. So if your investment property is kicking out 15% return on interest, that's a no-brainer. But, of course, it depends. You shouldn't really rely too much on appreciation because that's more speculation and gambling. And so that depends on the property itself, location, things like that. But if you can at least get the cash flow to come out of that property, then that's definitely a win. So what are you waiting for? Regardless if it's a good market, bad market, high interest rate, low interest rate, if you can make money as an investor, go ahead and invest. So that's it for this video. If you found value in it, I would really appreciate it if you consider subscribing. Hit the like button, the bell notification to be notified of future videos just like this one. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.